Ear to the ground, COP26. World leaders are here in Glasgow, Scotland, convening on climate change. However, China and Russia decided not to show up to the party, and many countries are upset, including Joe Biden. So part of the reason COP26 is so critical is because it is a follow-up to the Paris Agreement that was created at COP21 5 years ago. Every 5 years, countries commit their nationally determined contributions, or their NDCs, which basically says this is our pledge and commitment to solving the climate crisis. I'm here with Tosca and Juja, two students from Germany who are joining the marches and the events at COP. How has your experience been so far?
So far it was very nice. We met very interesting people and saw some interesting talks.
Yes, I fully agree. I think that there's a lot of youth activists here, which I did not really expect.
And if you were to have one hope of the outcome of the COP26 conference, what would that be?
One hope is that world leaders take up their promises and actually step up their game to fight the climate crisis.
For me, I think it would be that they actually listen to activists. For now, it seems like it's very much they're just trying to make it seem as if they're listening to us, but they're actually kind of disregarding our opinions.
And if you think nature could talk, and nature could tell humanity one thing, what do you think nature would say?
I think nature would say stop fucking up.
I think stop using me.
And what would you like to tell nature?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think, this is the best response.
Thank you so much, and good luck with all of your efforts on the ground. Thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
42 nations have committed to making clean power the most affordable option by 2030. Those nations include China, the UK, EU, and the United States.
We made that fun, right?
Yeah.
So, it's being able to, our mission is to go in there, decipher the dry policy, synthesize it and communicate it out in a way that our community can understand.
I'm here with Lauren McCallum, General Manager of UK POW, and Daniel Yates, Partnerships Director at POW EU. How's it going here at COP?
Yeah, it's amazing. We're here to sort of connect the outdoor community with what's happening here on the ground. We've got observer status, so we can enter the blue zone, observe the negotiations that are happening, speak to the organisations there, and we've got some amazing side events as well. Protector Winters has got a great programme on the ground here that's been led by POW UK, and Lauren's team are here hosting loads of panels, running loads of events, and it's awesome to be here with them.
I just watched Lauren absolutely crush a panel. One of the things that I found most inspiring that you said is find a way to communicate climate change that resonates with people. Don't weaponize all of this intellectual information and communicate in a way that makes people feel discluded. One thing that I think Protect Our Winters does amazingly is they find common ground. Can you speak a little bit more about that strategy at POW?
Yeah, totally. I mean, so, we use what people love, and we're at COP at the minute, and as Dan said, we've got observer status, and if you go in there, if you go into the negotiating rooms, it is like hardcore policy that even I struggle to keep up with, and I work in this every single day. So if I'm struggling, then how can your sort of average skier, snowboarder, and mountain biker, hiker really understand that? So I guess we use our passions to unpack quite complex policy. We synthesize that information and we talk to our community about it in a way that they understand, because if they don't understand the problem, then we can't advocate for the problem or advocate for solutions. So I guess that's sort of an insight to how we talk about climate change.
I've been a member of POW for about 7 years now, and what I love about Protect Our Winters is it gave me a home for my advocacy. I started to witness climate change as a skier, seeing the snowpack disappear. and I was enraged as a youth activist. And Protect Our Winters gave me a space where I could turn my anger and frustration into climate action. They bring us involved, bring us into policy, where we meet up with our local policymakers, and we become lobbyists as athletes. And I think that strategy is really effective of bringing athletes, people that have real experience being connected with nature, to talk with our policymakers. Guys, thank you so much for the interview, for the time. Is there anything else that you would like to send home to anybody tuning in?
Just what we really want to do is, one of the main talking points at COP at the moment is finance, and today is the finance day. But people have an impact with their own finances as well. So if they check out protectourwinters.eu or Protect Our Winters UK and the Divest the Dirt campaigns, we're asking our retail banks and the councils that hold pension funds to divest from any new fossil fuel extraction. It's an action you can take in 2 or 3 minutes, and it makes a huge difference. Greening your pension fund has 21 more times impact in stopping eating meat, stopping flying, and changing your energy provider altogether. So if you're going to do one action today to make it a better world, then just do that one.
Yeah, I guess, these international conferences are really, really important, right? Because we see the NDCs, which is basically just a fancy word for the plans. But, they come to these international conferences and they get their knuckles rapped, but they're elected at home. So it's the job of all of us, wherever you're watching, to keep them accountable to their promises at home, because they're elected at home. They're not elected internationally. So it's the responsibility of myself as somebody who's Scottish to keep the pressure on the Scottish government, the US government, Canadian government, European Parliament, whatever that is, to make sure that we keep the pressure on and hold them to account domestically, because that's super important to keep the progress going when they meet annually at COP.
Thank you, Lauren. So, you heard it here. Check in with your elected representatives. Your vote matters. And if your politicians and representatives aren't voting for climate, vote them out. And as to Dan's point, divesting is a huge way to leverage your climate footprint. So make sure that your bank is divested from fossil fuels. If not, log on to protectourwinters.eu and find out how you can divest today. The big conversation here is net zero versus zero emissions. A lot of companies have pledged to go net zero. What does that mean? A lot of youth activists are saying that is just an excuse to keep emitting and buy offsets for their emissions. And that doesn't really get us where we need to go. In reality, about 10 to 15% of the world's emissions can't really be solved. That's things like steel for creating wind turbines. So what we're really after is not net zero, which is using offsets to get there, but zero emissions is where we need to get to. And that's extended consumer responsibility, where each corporation is taking responsibility for their emissions and capping their own personal emissions. Lauren, what do you think Mother Nature would tell humanity?
Ooh, good question. I would say treat each other with compassion and kindness, and pull up a chair and let people sit down. And then also be aware of who you're pulling that chair up for. We've heard from white environmentalists quite a lot. So let's democratise and try and add some diversity and listen to Indigenous knowledge. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. These original protectors of Earth are there, and so let's invite them in. But we can only do that if we treat each other with respect and compassion and have a bit of patience, and I think that's what she would tell us, hopefully.
Respect and compassion, I think we're there. And Dan, what do you think Mother Nature would tell humanity?
I think on a similar theme, that we're not separate from Mother Nature, we are part of it, and it is only the Indigenous communities on Earth that seem to understand that at the moment. Indigenous communities occupy about 6% of the globe, but are responsible for protecting 80% of biodiversity, and we need to be able to give those groups a seat at this table, or nothing's going to happen.
You heard it here, supporting Indigenous communities and giving them a seat at the table. COP26, ear to the ground.
Woo. Great to see you. See you tomorrow.